What's going on, workforce? So we're not playing Final Fantasy XI, but Final Fantasy XIV's open world content is pretty lacking. Let's discuss. So if you're not well aware of this fact, Yoshi-P gave several media interviews at this year's PAX East. Lots of great content coming out of it, but one of the things of note is that he talked about open world content. So the question was asked to Yoshi-P regarding new open world content, and he responded that this isn't Final Fantasy XI and that putting in open world content wouldn't be as effective as we think it is, because people complain when there's a 20-minute queue for an instance content. And I fully understand the sentiment. I mean, who wants to go and spend a lot of time making content that no one's going to run because it's going to take too long to form a party or a group? And so that's what I wanted to discuss with you guys today. First, we want to take a look at what current open world content we have, what adjustments in my mind would or could have a positive impact on that content to make it viable once you've hit level cap, a couple of things that I personally want to see regarding open world content, and then I want to get your thoughts. What changes would you make? What would you like to see? I want to have that conversation, so join me in playing Junior Game Developer as we discuss Final Fantasy XIV's lack of open world content. So here's my current list of open world Final Fantasy XIV content. You've got Fates, Leaves, Beastman Dailies, Questing to an extent, Diadem to an extent. You've got Hunts, Treasure Hunts, you've got Gathering. All of those things are taking part in the open world and can be experienced by everybody. You can see people running around. But the common thread in each and every one of these is that they're primarily used for leveling. And that in and of itself is the problem. So in the previous video where I was covering the media interviews and this question came up, I kind of gave a quick example on a simple change that I'd like to see made to the Leave system that could help alleviate this, because it is open world, but it's also instanced. It allows you to go in solo, or you can go in with a group with Leaves. I think a couple of changes to the Leave system would by and far improve the system overall. My personal preference would be to see Leaves shift into a Diablo 3 style rift system, in which that the longer you go, the more waves that you clear, the higher your rewards get, as well as a ranking and a timing system. Bringing friends along would be really, really great. I think that the fact that Leaves right now are set up as solo is fine, and that you can go with friends, and they still exist as the Leave linking system, so that if friends have the same Leaves, rewards are applied to everybody who has that. I think that, again, like looking at Diablo 3 as an example of that rift system, is that you go in with a group and then either scales to your level or specific Leaves that are just focused in on that kind of content are balanced around either 4 or 8 individuals. I think personally 8 would be great, but that's just because I like 8-man content. I think it adds for a lot more variety. So how that would work is that, again, like I said, you clear the wave, and then each time you clear, it gets harder and harder and harder until you ultimately fail. And that's the whole goal. How far can you get? Can you get 50 waves in? Can you get 100 waves in? Can you get 200 waves in? And there's really no end. And that I think that from both a random and fairness perspective is that every wave is in tiers, and then at particular tiers you would say, okay, we're going to throw this boss at you, or we're going to throw this at you, and it's happening in the open world. It allows for players to see this happening and watch and witness and cheer you on to be exciting. It's like, oh my gosh, how the heck is Alexander out in the open world while somebody has made it that far in the various Leaves? So it would be filling in the content that already exists, that it would be taking from what exists now and just applying it into this new system. And then it's all about the rewards. The thing that I think would make it exciting personally for Leaves in this case is that you only have so much allowance that you get. For the most people who aren't using it to level up, gathering or crafting for the most part. I guess some people can do it solo for battle as well, but they're really not effectively used there. Instead of you could put really great rewards in here, you could have them use 50 of their, allowance credits, meaning they could only get 2 every couple of weeks to really do this. And so that you could put some really top tier rewards once they hit a certain peak. And that would then incentivize the content to be done by everybody. And that's kind of the real key point. And we talked about with the list of the content we've got. And that's incentivizing it properly. So let's look at incentives. We got for Fates and for Leaves and for Hunts and for all of that. The primary incentive is XP. But imagine that once you hit cap, that if you could take that and either do one of two things. Change XP out for tomes or for other endgame rewards, even with Fates, giving them the ability to drop particular gear. You see that Fates come back when they introduce the first piece of the relic weapon grind, and then they go away again. It's like, hey, you remember this? This is a system, and then there's no real benefit outside of it. And they still reward XP, but what are you doing with it? You're not doing much of anything with that at that time. Give us a reason to go and run that Fate as we're running through the world. Like, outside of the crystal or XP if you're leveling, there is no incentive. So change it out for tomes so that as I'm running through the world and I see a Fate, I can make that decision, be like, hey, I can totally go get some scripture right now and go run that Fate. Or let us pull the XP that we earn and apply it to another job of our choice, even at a discounted rate. Even, you could even say 1/100th or 1/10th of the XP that you earn, it's pulling up, and then you can say, you know what, apply that to, this job that I really wasn't interested in leveling, but all of a sudden, I now have another job at 50, and it's not going to be that hard to get to 60. It could incentivize people who really primarily play one job to all of a sudden open themselves up to be like, hey, now I actually have more than one. I can check this out, and it's less of a grind. But that's just a simple idea right there. Now, to also be fair, Yoshi-P talked about wanting to make new quest tools to make questing much more interesting in Stormblood. And so that for Beastman dailies and for things like that gives me a lot of hope. I like what they've done with the Diadem. The Diadem is a good example of us going together as a group and having various objectives, as well as having the Fates that kind of fill in the gap for it. And so then Fates also reward these lockboxes. It would be really cool to see that kind of system also applied just in general. And so these are just some simple ideas with the current existing content that incentivize the current open world content. I don't think we have a lack of it. I think we have no motivation for it. And finally, I like to talk about a couple things that I would like to see applied as new content for open world content for Final Fantasy XIV. And the first and obvious choice is open world dungeons, some area in which that it is dangerous to go alone and to give you this sense of exploration out in the world. Even a warning could be applied to the player when they're entering this area. Warning, this area is dangerous. Please bring friends. And you can go and explore it on your own at your leisure. Now, the question that I would have here is, how would you balance rewards? How would you incentivize players to go and take the time to form a group? And in my mind, it works off of the idea of it's friends. Like, hey, we've got, let's get together and let's go explore this new area that's dangerous, and it remains dangerous to the day. So we had a little bit of this in 2.0 with the various Beastman areas, and I felt less so in the 3.0 Beastman areas, and maybe that's where it's coming from, this sense of adventure and exploration and danger. But with dungeons, maybe it's not about designing open world dungeons that maybe some people won't go explore. Maybe it's more about taking the dungeons that we currently have, and then after clearing them, giving us the ability to go back and explore them outside of that instance, area without that kind of goal. Being able to go and gather from them to explore and have different fates and bosses pop within the dungeon itself just to make it interesting would be a simple step forward with adding in open world dungeons. Hey, you get to them from the open world. Other parties and people can be in there and you can see them and things can happen within them. And so from a design perspective, I think it becomes something that is easy and quick to turn around. Now, I could be completely wrong. That might be something that would take a lot of time due to the nature of how they've set up instance content being off-world. If nothing else, I think it would be interesting to be able to go back to those dungeons and explore them, to gather from them, and to experience them in a whole different way. That's just something I would love to see, something that's more open world, that is bringing everybody together, that we're all participating in, that while we wait for that instance to pop, that we can say, hey, let's go do that, because we can participate in multiple things at the same time. So that's just my opinion, but I want to know what yours is. What changes would you make to open world content that we have right now? What do you want from open world content, if you want it at all? We don't have to necessarily go back to the obvious days of Final Fantasy XI and older games of that nature, but we can take what we have and we can improve upon it. And I hope that that's what we're communicating. I think that there is this sense that people feel like, oh, let's just go back to Final Fantasy XI, and for its time it was great, but it's not those days, and we could have a debate on that as well. Anyway, for Work to Game, my name's Brian. I hope you have a fantastic day, and thanks for watching this video. I hope to see you in my next, but until then, take care. Hey, it's me. Thanks so much for watching this video. You should click here to subscribe, and here to maybe check out some more of our videos. So again, thanks for watching. We hope you like this video. We hope you subscribe and join our community. Let us know in the comments below what you think, and we'll see you next time.